Welcome back to the Housed series, where unsettling mysteries lurk in the shadows. Today, we dive into another chapter that uncovers even darker secrets: the ex girlfriend. What happens when greed and unresolved pasts lead you back to a place where you should never return? Let's find out. Linda stood outside the gates of the house at the end of the street, her sharp eyes scanning the old, weather-beaten property. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the overgrown lawn. Despite the layers of dust and neglect, she could still picture the house as it had been years ago, pristine and full of life. But now it stood silent, almost abandoned, the kind of house that people whispered about, but no one dared to approach. Linda scoffed at the rumors. She wasn't one to believe in ghost stories. She had a job to do, and the price tag on this property could be hefty once she cleaned it up and put it on the market. The real estate business was cutthroat, and Linda had learned early on that the more detached you were, the better you fared. Besides, she'd moved past her whole life, or so she thought. She took a deep breath, stilling her mind. The memories crept back in regardless. The house belonged to Robert, her ex-boyfriend, and the man she had once thought she loved. They had broken up under terrible circumstances. Yes, he had caught her cheating with a cooler, more daring man, someone with excitement in his veins, unlike Robert. The break was ugly, filled with accusations and bitterness, mostly from Robert. After that, she hadn't heard from him again. A few years ago, she learned of his death under strange circumstances, along with his family in that very house. Now she was here, standing at the threshold of her past and the hairy house that held it all. Her secretary, Janice, was fidgeting with a phone beside her, while Kent, her younger lover, leaned against their car, looking bored. "You sure this is the place, babe?" Kent asked, glancing at the decaying structure. Linda nodded, pushing her sunglasses higher on her nose. "Yeah, this is it. We'll take a look inside, assess the damages, and see how much work it needs. We'll be out in no time." Janice shivered despite the warmth of the evening. "Linda, are you sure? This place gives me the creeps. I heard things, like, about the family that lived here. You know, they just disappeared." Linda rolled her eyes. "Disappeared? Come on, Janice. People disappear all the time. Probably just ran off and changed their identities." She motioned to Kent. "Let's go." As they entered the house, Linda was struck by how eerily familiar it felt. Despite the years, despite the dust and disrepair, something about it was unchanged. The shadows seemed to cling to the corners, growing denser as the sun sank outside. The air was thick, almost oppressive, and the smell of mold and damp wood filled their lungs. "Wow, this place is a dump," Ken said, running a hand through his dark hair. He kicked at the broken vase on the floor, causing it to skitter across the room. "How much do you think it will go for once it's fixed up?" Linda didn't answer immediately. She was staring at the stairway, where, for a split second, she thought she saw something move. A flicker, a shadow, something not quite right. She blinked, and it was gone. Let's go upstairs, Linda said abruptly, shaking off the feeling. The bedrooms are where the real value lies. As they climbed the stairs, the atmosphere seemed to thicken. The floor creaked beneath their feet, and the air grew colder. Linda felt her heart quaking, but she ignored it. She was here to do her job. She wouldn't let old memories or silly superstitions get in the way. When they reached the landing, they were greeted by the same layout Melissa and Melanie had explored years before. Two rooms, one on the left and one on the right. Linda froze. Her pulse quickened. The memory hit her hard. This was the same hallway where Robert had once led her through. The same place where they had argued about the last time before everything fell apart. "I'll check the right room," Ken said, already pushing the door open. Janice followed him closely, her nerves on edge. Linda hesitated, her gaze locked on the left door, the one that was bolted shut. Her breath caught in her throat. Without knowing why, she felt drawn to it, as if something behind that door was waiting for her. And she reached for the knob. As soon as her hand touched the cold metal, a sharp, icy gust of wind blew through the hallway, slamming the right door shut. Janice screamed from the other side, pounding on the door. "Linda! It won't open! We're stuck!" Linda's hand froze on the knob, but before she could turn it, a voice whispered in her ear, a voice she hadn't heard in years. "Linda!" Her blood ran cold. She spun around, but there was no one there. "Linda!" the voice said again, this time louder. She recognized it now. It was Robert, his voice calling to her from beyond. The door swung open of its own accord, and Linda was hit with a wave of cold air. The room beyond was dark, but she could see a figure standing in the center, waiting for her. "Robert," she whispered, stepping into the room. The door slammed shut behind her, and the figure moved forward, stepping into the pale light from the window. But it wasn't Robert. Not anymore. His face was twisted and decayed, his eyes hollow and lifeless. His hands reached for her, his voice a hollow echo of the man she once knew. "You left me," he whispered. "You betrayed me. And now you stay with me." Linda screamed, backing away, but there was nowhere to go. The room seemed to close in around her, the walls narrowing, trapping her in a nightmare she couldn't escape. Downstairs, Kent and Janice, able to have made their way from the right room, heard the scream, but they didn't stop to investigate. They ran, bursting out of the house and into the fading daylight, too terrified to look back, 'cause they never spoke of what they saw, and the house remained untouched, unsold, and cursed. But as for Linda, she was never seen again. Some say the house took her, just like it took the others, but those who knew the story knew better. She didn't disappear, she stayed forever. Thank you for watching this episode of The House. If this story gave you chills and you're eager for more, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to stay updated with each new release, and share with friends who love a good mystery. Stay tuned for more eerie tales in our Haunted series. Have a good one. Bye.